Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Western Sydney Business Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Amanda Brisot of the Western Sydney Business Connection. Hi, Amanda.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Good, thank you. Very well.
Thanks for coming on
Thanks
the
for having me.
podcast. So, a little bit about you. You are the General Manager of the Western Sydney Business Connection. And you're the person to speak to look if you're looking to grow your business in Western Sydney and boost jobs here in Western Sydney. So, maybe tell us a little bit about WSBC.
Sure. So the Western Sydney Business Connection has been around for a while. So we've been in the area for 30 years. Obviously, as the
Wow.
area has grown, we have grown with it. The focus of the connection is really on connecting. So our tagline is connecting for growth, which is what we aim to do with Western Sydney businesses. So we aim to connect businesses with each other so that they can grow, also with opportunities and also with, opportunities around education and training and those sorts of things so that they can develop their own business.
And you're pretty passionate about Western Sydney. I just want to read something from the website and your bio. Amanda is stubborn. She won't stop until perceptions have changed and the whole of Australia sees Western Sydney for the down-to-earth, welcoming place that it is. Western Sydney can no longer be ignored under her watch. Its success story is already here. That's got to be one of the best quotes about Western Sydney that I've ever heard, and sort of summarizes, your passion and the rightful passion for Western Sydney. So where does that come from? Tell us a bit about you before WSBC and what's led you to this point and being so passionate about Western Sydney.
It's a big call, and there are a lot of us. I'm not alone. There are a lot of people that are really passionate about Western Sydney. There's business leaders, there's local
Mm-hmm.
people, there's businesses. There's a lot of us out there, and we're passionate about Western Sydney because it's a great place to live, work, and play. We see it, we understand it, we know
Mm-hmm.
what's on the doorstep. We know about those authentic little corners of various local council areas where you can get really great authentic food and beautiful bushwalks and
Yeah.
great people and great businesses. There's so much about it that we know and that we love. But my background is I was born and bred in Western Sydney, so went to Nagle Girls High School in Blacktown, and then went
Mm-hmm.
to Western Sydney University and did a couple of degrees there, and then have always been focused on Western Sydney as a great place to live and bring up a family and those sorts of things. Since I have had my own family and been working full time, I've realised how important it is to have local jobs for local people. So my husband and I both would commute to the city every day for our jobs. We would waste between 2 to 3 hours a day each, so 6 hours a day that's just gone down the tube. And we both now have got jobs locally. So we've both got jobs in Western Sydney near where we live. And that has just changed the game for us now. So we've got more time to spend with our kids to help them with their homework and, sort of prepare our sort of next generation kind of thing. And we also have more time to invest in our local community. So we both volunteer at the local football club and help with the school fete. And you multiply that by the 200,000 people that are leaving Western Sydney every day
Mm-hmm.
for work. You can see what a big difference it makes, So
Yeah,
that's
truly.
kind of the passion comes from, because if we can create local jobs for local people and we can really grow the economy, you can really see that there's a huge opportunity to change the game for the people that have to live here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then I see a lot of push from the real estate point of view, I see a lot of pushes from the CBD councils and like Liverpool, for example, really pushing for commercial and wanting jobs in Liverpool. And I suppose there's a fantastic opportunity out in Badgerys Creek at the Western Sydney Airport. The amount of jobs, what is it, like 200,000 jobs thereabouts that are going to be coming to that precinct. From your point of view, what's super important about that and the jobs in that area?
Look, I think it's great that that they are. There is a real shift in policy now to trying to engage local people, local employment. So I know the airport has a 30% target for employing local businesses,
Yeah.
local people. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think what we can do to improve on that is to focus on local procurement. So where we have big projects like the Northern Road upgrade, like the Western Sydney Airport, West Connects, North Connects, all these big projects that are happening,
Yeah.
if we can look at ensuring that those tier one companies that win those jobs are focused wherever possible on engaging with local suppliers that will be a real game changer for Western Sydney. There is a bit of a shift towards that already, which is fantastic. But I do think there's definitely room for that to grow. And also looking at local councils. So if you look across the whole of Western Sydney, there's 12 local councils in the area. If local councils can focus on local procurement as well, so when they're looking at engaging with the supplier for whatever project they're working on, if they can ensure that they are making as much of an effort as they can to engage with local suppliers as possible, what they're going to see is that's going to generate economic returns for their local economy. It's going to generate jobs, and it's also going to keep businesses in their LGA, which is brilliant. So I think that focus on local procurement and engaging with the local supply chain is really important.
Two-part question. So that seems like, yeah, right, something that you can do that will have a massive ripple effect throughout the region is just getting the jobs for the new infrastructure projects in the area. Do you think 30% is enough of the target at the Western Sydney Airport for local jobs?
I'm not an economist. So I think just sort of anecdotally, you need to balance it. You need to balance it with what's required to get the job done. So you need to balance it against things like the cost to deliver it. If it's more expensive to procure locally, then obviously 30% is plenty. If you don't have the skills and the talent and the expertise locally, then 30% is plenty. So it's a matter of balancing out.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And so the businesses that are, that come to WSBC, who are they? Where are they coming from? Is it only Western Sydney businesses? Maybe go into that a little bit more, and maybe who can, join and be a part of this?
Yeah, so we've got a bit of a broad church. So, for example, tomorrow I have a roundtable in construction. So a small roundtable where I'm connecting a whole series of businesses that are members of WSBC with each other. So we've got businesses that are up the top end of the supply chain, so the Lendleases and multiplexes and Landcoms, the big sort of tier one organisations. And then we've got suppliers that are down the other end of the supply chain that are smaller businesses. So we see our role very much as bringing those two groups together. The roundtable tomorrow will be focused on having the multiplex and the big tier ones share their outlook on what they think is coming down the line at the other end of COVID-19, and sharing some information with the smaller businesses on how they can prepare for that. I think that organisations like Lendlease and Multiplex are members of WSBC because they want to support the local supply chain, and they
they share that vision.
They share that vision, and we just provide a platform to bring them together. So we have, to answer your question, we focus primarily on the small to medium enterprise sector. So that's sort of 20 employees and up to sort of around 200. So it's a big chunk of businesses. But that said, we also have very large businesses that are members of ours and very small businesses that are members of ours. But I'd say 80% of them are in that sort of middle sector. And they are from all sectors. So we have local councils. We've got about 8 or 9 local councils that are members. Wow. Big government organisations that are members, right down to sole traders. So it really sort of depends on what that particular business is looking for. But we do tend to be, as I say, a very broad church in terms of sector and size.
Right, and I suppose answer this as best you can. Have any of those businesses, how is COVID impacting that and impacting your business at all? Is it, I know networking is a big thing for you. So how, is WSBC changing to adapt with that and still running the business as normal, if possible?
I'll answer that in 2 parts. So firstly, for our business, it's still very early days for us, but we've really, because of the nature of what we do, which is to provide business support and to connect businesses with expertise. So where we don't have that expertise ourselves, obviously we have members that do. For example, we have Deloitte, who's a platinum partner, so they run webinars for us. We've got Brilliant Digital, world-class teams. They're all platinum partners. They run those webinars for us. So that's a matter of us connecting our members with each other so they can share their knowledge with each other and provide a platform for that to take place. in terms of our members and how they're sort of coping with COVID-19, again, it's still very early days. So we've done, as a lot of businesses have done, we've spent a lot of time on the phone calling our members and sort of checking in to sort of see how they're all doing. And I'm really happy to report that, but by and large, there's no bloodbaths yet. Everybody seems to be doing okay. And there are some sectors, I mean, it's quite patchy, isn't it? Like there's some sectors that are doing quite well out of this. So I would argue that accountants and lawyers are doing okay
Certainly.
at the moment out of this. Manufacturing, there seems to have been, and this again, it's quite anecdotal, there seems to have been almost a bit of a panic buy on manufacturing. So they're actually doing quite well at the moment. Obviously, tourism and hospitality are getting absolutely smashed at the moment, and will for, I'd say, for a little while. So I mean, it really depends on the sector. But as I say, we've just been focused on providing as many resources as we can to support, like all the associations that do what we do are doing at the moment. Just being as active as we can to provide as much resources and support as we possibly can.
Yeah, great. I know you mentioned earlier local procurement is a really big thing for WSBC. What else is something that you guys focus on that's, quite major for your business, or a goal over the next 10 to, 5 to 10 years?
Look, I think just to sort of, not to harp on about it, with that local procurement piece, so there is one really great program that we have been running for quite some time, which we call strategic matching. So what we'll do is we'll go into a particular local government area. So for example, Campbelltown, we've done it in the past with Liverpool, Parramatta and other councils. And we will unearth whatever major projects are happening in that particular LGA at that point in time. We will connect with the tier one contractors that are delivering those projects. We'll get them in a room and we'll speed date them with sort of up to 50 local suppliers. They all get a 15-minute interview each to have that opportunity to find out more about each other. And that's been a really successful program. So from that, we've had, of the 200 or so businesses that have been lucky enough to go through it, we've had about a 20% success rate, meaning 20% of those businesses have already won work. 40% of the businesses, because sometimes this takes a bit of time, have work in the pipeline. So that's been a really great program, and I think it's really important that you're quite sort of practical and tactical, as well as strategic in terms of the programs that you deliver, so that you're really driving outcomes.
That seems like it's like not speed dating, but it's like getting two parts of a book that might not meet, sort of bring them together. That sounds it's quite a good thing. I never even thought about.
I just love it. I just love that event. You kind of really feel like you're making a difference to local business, because you can see it right in front of your eyes, and it's
absolutely
really great. Beyond that, some of the projects that we've been working on, so tourism and the visitor economy is a big focus for us. And the visitor economy is a bit of a tricky one. So with the visitor economy in Western Sydney, what we're focusing on is lifestyle. So how do you use the big visitor economy to start to shift the perceptions around lifestyle? Because Western Sydney doesn't get a great rap outside of the know it and love it. So what can we do to help shift that perception? And that's been a big focus for us. So we've been working with Western Sydney businesses to come together to work on a sort of collective strategy and campaign. So we all come together and we fund the same thing, and we run campaigns to drive people to Western Sydney and to start to shift the way that people see the region. So from that, we've had some really great successes. One of the really great things was we received a decent amount of funding. So from the Parramatta City of Parramatta, Destination New South Wales, and hopefully some other grants that are coming through soon for an event that's taking place in Parramatta in November this year. So it's a music conference and showcase, which is focused around hip hop and urban beats, because that's something that Western Sydney, has in absolute space.
Absolutely right.
So this idea of unearthing the what is great about the place, because that's you need to be authentic when you start to talk about a place. If you want to shift perceptions, you need to do it in a very authentic way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's about unearthing what is really awesome about Western Sydney and taking that to the world. So hip hop's just one way that you can do that. But I mean, you think about El Fresh and some of the other really great artists that we have locally. That if we can start to to infuse that into the narrative about Western Sydney
Yeah.
in a very, you know,
You build a
in a
culture. You build a culture
way.
that people come here for it. Like,
Yeah,
you might go to Sydney's East for a certain type of culture. You can come out here for a whole different style of it. That's fantastic.
yeah. So that's brilliant. So that's taking place next in this year, hopefully. You know,
Yep.
all things kind of working out. And at the moment, we've got already signed up to support that Apple Music. So they've said that this is going to be
Wow. Great.
their number one project for Q1. Their quarter starts in October.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Spotify, we've got Sony, we've got all these really great brands that are coming in to
Yeah,
support
coming and
this.
looking at, and Western Sydney, all coming to Western Sydney. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think it's the interesting thing is that there's no music. So there's Big Sounds in Brisbane, which is a music conference in Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
They've got another music conference in Western Australia. New South Wales doesn't have one. We don't have a music conference.
Right.
Being arguably home to the music industry in Australia, given it's where all the head office of the big big corporations are. It seems a missed opportunity. So this was a really great opportunity for us to create a conference that supported the music industry.
Yep.
We showcased Western Sydney for being, the capital of hip hop in Australia, arguably
Yep.
the Southern Hemisphere. And we're also starting to shift the perceptions of Western Sydney. So this is a really great event that I'm really excited about. So that's something that ourselves, as in the Western Sydney Business Connection, has partnered with the Western Sydney Business Chamber to deliver. And yeah, that's going to be brilliant.
That sounds super exciting. I'm a fan of music myself, so it's definitely something I'll be keeping an eye out for. November.
Great.
Yeah, very good.
November.
So, how any small businesses that are listening, how can they, get in contact with you, get in contact with WSBC? Anything you want to sort of leave us with before we wrap up the podcast that any small business listening right now can take with them?
Yeah, sure. So what we've done through this COVID-19 period is we've had a look at our membership packages. So because we've always been geared towards sort of the SMEs, so slightly larger businesses, our packages have always been priced that way. What we've seen is there's a real need for smaller businesses to be able to access our services. So we've actually created a new small business package that we're actually just in the process of launching now.
Great.
So if you visit our website, wsbc.org.au, you can find out more information about that there.
Fantastic. All right, Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You've given us a great overview. I love the passion. I don't think I've ever been more excited about Western Sydney, speaking to people like yourself. It's just, we need more people like you out there promoting Western Sydney. I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Thanks, Thomas. I appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure. You take care. Thanks for coming on the podcast. See ya.
See you later.